since we not live streaming it or anything. Because if we do this one more time and ain't acting right, I'm going to kill you.
We good. All right. Gavin, how are you?
Hi, Gavin. How are you today?
Good.
Good.
Real quick today on Fresh Aire Network, I wanted to bring on Lisa Gavin with Cbi Solutions and speak about something that is very important for myself and for my family and people who are in business, and that is to think of credit. So, Lisa, can you share with us, first of all, who are you, what your background is, and perhaps what CBI is, and how it perhaps can help our listeners?
Sure. My name is Lisa Gavin, and I and my husband, Vince Gavin, started a business, Cbi Solutions Group. And the goal of the company was just to help people build and develop their credit. And so when we initially started the company, coming from the backgrounds that we come from, I came from a higher ed background, so I was an administrator at a college. My first thought was to teach about credit. When her husband first came to me about the concept of starting a credit company, I'm like, oh, we're going to teach people. He's like, no.
Right.
We're going to teach them, but we're going to teach them while we're working with them individually to build and develop their credit. And so we established the concept over 14 years ago. And as you can see, we're still in business today.
Congrats.
Doing exactly that, helping people build and develop their credit scores.
So, why is credit so important today for people of that's starting a business, perhaps, or corporate? But in general, just why is credit so important? Because you have people that actually say to me, and we've heard, I don't need it, I'm good, I do everything in cash, or
right, wrong answer.
I got A1 credit, but I'm not using it, I don't need it right now. Can you speak to the listeners about what the value of credit is, how it works, and maybe why do you need it?
Sure. Unfortunately, if you wait until you need it to do something, chances are you're not going to be where you're supposed to be to get an approval. And so credit's not something that you wait for when you need it. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions of credit is that, oh, well, I don't need it right now. You always need access. And so bare minimum, credit needs to be a tool for you to have access to more than what you have today. And so let's just say, for instance, if you're a person, just everyday person, that's paying rent every day, it makes more sense for you to own your own and be putting out money every month to be the owner of something. You need credit for that. It may be that you need to just make your life more affordable. Well, what if you had better credit scores and you can go back and refinance your house or refinance your car and pay cheaper for everything? Everyone needs to pay cheaper for everything. Or let's just say you have higher aspirations of owning your own business. Most businesses don't survive because they don't have enough capital to build and develop that business. You need your credit to be there and available to you so that if there are things you need to invest in for your business, you will then have access to that. So credit is about access. And more importantly, credit should be about the ability to invest in yourself. Yes, I'm a woman and I like to shop, but credit should be about more than just what can I go to store to buy so I can look cute, or how nice of a car I can drive so I can, be flexing, whatever. It needs to be about the ability to develop a better life, better lifestyle for yourself, and a better source of income and assets to better yourself. And if it doesn't include that, then the picture's incomplete as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, one of the things that you always mention to me is that credit is a tool.
Absolutely.
And it's a tool that you can utilize to build more things, or it's a tool that you can maintain whatever it is that you have going on.
Yes.
But the point being is that credit is something that has been such a secret.
Big secret.
It's sort of, it's even worse than politics when people don't ever talk about politics.
Right.
Well, they never really talk about their credit.
Yes.
So if they never talk about it, then sometimes or most times the conversation is not had. So can you speak to the listeners about when should you think about looking or establishing some kind of knowledge about your credit?
Now, credit is a now thing. Mainly because in the society that we live in today, there's very little you can do without credit. And if you are doing it without credit, I can guarantee you're suffering some inconveniences. For example, if it used to be a time that you actually couldn't even rent a car, without a credit card.
True.
But, in the society that we're in today, so many people have had to file bankruptcy. So many people have been going through foreclosure. People have been going through challenges as our economy crashed and, everybody's been struggling to recover. Well, what that means is that the system has to accommodate that some type of way. So great, you can use a debit card, but they're holding a large chunk of your money to be able to use that debit card to rent a car. I mean, so what if that's the money that you really need for that trip? I don't have $500 for you all to hold my $500 to rent a car that costs $30 a day. So there's a certain amount of suffering that goes along with not being able to have credit to do some basic movement. So we're kind of in a society that credit is needed. For instance, you want to be a homeowner. You can't be a homeowner without credit 9 times out of 10. You might be able to buy something on the market these days cheap, but you're going to have to find the money to fix it up.
Right.
Where's that money coming from? Are you, living in a shack because you don't have any money to fix it up and you got to wait to save it? It's, there's a lot of things that credit can help with, and it definitely comes in handy to have it versus to not have it.
It's funny that we never really have conversations about credit. You never have, and I'm saying that because Susie Orman came to mind when she would talk about Roth IRAs and investments and stuff like that. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Or even they'll talk about investing, but nobody really talks about the value or even kind of wave a flag like, hey, we're over here teaching about credit.
Yeah.
Can you speak to why that is? And I'm sure that is one of the reasons why you and your husband got involved in it.
Yeah, it's why we do what we do. I mean, the interesting part is that, first of all, you have to not be scared to admit that you don't know everything. These days in the court of public opinion, and everybody loves to have an opinion. It's the one thing that drives me nuts about social media. Everybody loves to have an opinion. And so in that, people are forced in a situation where they have to pretend they know so much, or they have to use that moment to prove themselves. Yeah, I'd much rather shut up and be quiet and have a whole bunch of money in my pocket and have a whole bunch of credit available and not have to say much about it. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not saying anything, it's because, I'm at least working to put myself in position. And a lot of times people who have the most to say are probably the least in position. That's just the reality of it. Yeah. And so I'm just tell the truth. So, the bottom line is when my husband started the business, both of us are master degree individuals. So understand that. He has a master's in IT. I have an MBA. But we had to first be able to admit to ourselves that this is something we don't know. Mm-hmm. So if we never admitted to ourselves that there's something still wrong with this picture, that we are intelligent, educated individuals who were never taught about anything about credit in college. For goodness sakes, I have an MBA. Did they teach me an MBA? That's a business degree. Shouldn't I have been taught about credit, getting an MBA? But guess what? I wasn't. So we had to admit to ourselves that obviously there's some pieces here we don't know because both of us were experienced in credit, and particularly him because it was his concept. How have I bought multiple houses and multiple cars and I still don't have the best credit score possible to get that 0 APR that they advertising on TV? Mm-hmm. Why is that? There's something I am missing here that I haven't been taught. And I need to figure out what that is. And as we started to research and understand more of what that was, we said, man, we got to let people know this, because I know if we're smart, there's other smart people and there's other not very smart people out there. I'm not discriminating, but if as a smart person I can admit I don't know, then guess what? I know there's a whole lot of other people too that don't know. And so that's where it starts, is understanding that there are professionals and people in their industry, which is why you go to professionals. You go to an attorney if you have a lawsuit. You don't go and say, I'm representing myself in court. You can, but is it advisable?
Right.
A lot of people don't do their own taxes. Why? Because I don't know about all these deductions. There's other things I can probably do better, but I don't know all this stuff. Let me go to somebody who knows this stuff. And so we decided in credit, I know that there's a lot of people that don't know this stuff, because as you were saying, it's a secret. How the credit scoring system is developed is a secret. What the companies are doing behind the scenes is a secret. So it's all these secrets designed to, sadly, take advantage of unknowledgeable consumers. So don't take it in a bad way if you don't know. It was designed for us, for the most part, to not know. Mm-hmm. It was designed for the powers that be in the companies to be able to take advantage of a large population of folks. So don't be mad if you don't know. Believe me, it was intended to a large degree to be that way. So we had to then take the power back. We had to take the reins of power and say, hey, I'm going to learn more about this stuff. I'm going to learn how to manipulate this system. I'm going to learn how I can strategically develop my credit to make this work for me. Mm-hmm. And that is the difference for us as a company, is being that strategic partner and a consultant, in a sense, to help you figure that out.
No, I think that's very important, because we had made mention before, as far as just because you have the knowledge of school doesn't necessarily mean you have the knowledge of business, in this case, credit. It's so many times I have to speak to my clients about, if I go to a doctor, when I would go and speak to a doctor and he or she is my client, I would always kind of have this preconceived notion that this person is super smart, right? Right. And, some they are. I'm not getting good past that. But the point being is that that's not their field. So I'm sharing this with really the people who think that they know it all because they do have the schooling. And sometimes they're not apt to humble themselves to say that they don't know, which hurts them in the ability to even think about asking somebody about, in this case, credit. Mm-hmm. So I think credit is something that has been such a taboo kind of conversation.
Yeah, and I don't know if I quite answered why that is. Because I think, it's part of, you always give me multiple part questions, Gavin. But I think part of what you were getting at is that, why is it that people don't talk about this stuff? Why is it that people don't know? And I think the point I was trying to get to, and probably a too lengthy of an answer, is that people are embarrassed to not know. Because it's one of those things that, somehow or another, because credit's everywhere, right? You're made to think that you're supposed to know. You're supposed to already
good point.
know.
Good point.
And so most people won't admit that, no, I don't know my credit score. Or, hey, I don't really know where to go from here. Reading credit reports is hard as hell. I don't exactly know how to read my credit report. It's like they are made to feel that they should be embarrassed to some degree because they don't have this wealth of knowledge about it. But credit's just one of those things that you really think about when you've been told no. So it's just kind of that funny dynamic that you're not really thinking about it until you want something or you're trying to do something and you're told no. And then all of a sudden, now it's something you have to deal with. And then by the time you have to deal with it, at that point, it's contentious, it's irritating, you're mad, you're frustrated because you can't do what you're trying to do. And a lot of times you just don't know where to turn. So those are not easy conversations,
I'm sure,
to have, even in your own head, let alone with someone else.
So let's talk about what makes CBI Solutions different than perhaps an online entity that you can, of course, not necessarily have the one-on-one.
Yeah, good question. Good
Yeah.
question. Because in general, people think all credit repair is the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same dynamic. And people will come to me sometimes go, oh, I know somebody else who's doing what you're doing. I'm like, no, you don't. They're not doing what I'm doing.
And repair is different from building too, which is
Yes.
a whole nother dynamics that needs to be addressed. So please.
Well, that's exactly why I'm saying that when you talk to somebody else that, quote unquote, is doing what I'm doing, they're not doing what I'm doing. And the reason that I say that, not to sound cocky, but the bottom line is my husband and I have done this over 14 years for over 15,000 people.
Shout out to Vince.
Shout out to Vince Gavin, because let me tell you what his understanding is of banking and developing yourself and acquiring, whether that be, multi-unit properties, whether that be a cigarette boat, which is in one case we had to help a person finance $100,000 plus cigarette boat. I mean, so just our experience in working with a vast audience is huge. And part of the challenge is that when people come to us, they're inundated with what's being advertised or put out there. Credit repair. Credit repair is only going to address what's derogatory on your credit. But true enough, it's a possibility that you can get everything bad off and not have enough good and still have no credit score and can't do anything. And honestly, bad credit and no credit cracks up to about the same. You still can't do what you want to do, and you still don't have sufficient scores to hit that next level. And so if you don't understand that just repairing, for the most part, only addresses a small piece of what's going on with your credit, the bottom line is you don't understand that credit repair alone is not going to get you there. It's not going to get you to what your end goal is. And so I'll give you this analogy. If you came to me, you said, Lisa, I'm trying to get to California. My first question is going to be, well, where are you now? If I don't know where you're at now, I can't tell you what that distance is going to be to ultimately get to where you're trying to go. And I can't tell you it's going to be the same cost for you trying to get there from Vegas than it's going to be for you trying to get there from up in Maine. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different distance to get from where you are to where you're trying to go. And when you go to an online service to really get to the heart of your question, it's a drove of people going to the same place to get the same thing. And guess what? Out of those hundreds of thousands of people that's going there, are you the same as everybody else is going there? Are you trying to get to the same place they're trying to get to?
Yeah, which led
is your
me
end goal the same?
Just speaking about your credit report is like your DNA. Nobody has the same. And that is what's so important about where you're at right now, meaning, okay, so where am I at? And then more importantly, now that I know where I am, where do I want to go? And when I say, what do I want to go, most of the time is determined by how much time and energy and money it may take to do that.
That is a factor.
And if you don't know where you're at, it's hard for you to conceive that you can actually get to someplace if you don't know how to get there. So it's just amazing to me how we talked about the psychological warfare that not knowing your credit or that whole dynamic plays on a person's head. But can you speak to the listeners about the fact that if you don't know some of these things, how can you be stagnant in your life?
Or better yet, that you will be stagnant in your life. It's, for instance, if you're walking up a set of stairs, you know that you have to hit the first stair, then the second stair, then the third stair. You don't have to think through what is it going to take for me to get from the bottom of the staircase to the top of the staircase. Because, you have to go each step at a time. Mm-hmm. Life is not just this straight staircase that you walk up, because there's going to be times where you walk up a couple of stairs, you slip and fall, and fall back down to the bottom again, and you might fall beyond the bottom because you might be laying on the floor. Mm-hmm. Now you got to get back up off the floor.
It's extra energy.
And you got to find some extra energy. You might have injured yourself. Now you got to hobble up. It's just, if you get the analogy, it's not just this straight path. And then a lot of times in life, you might get to what you think is the top of the stairs, and somebody's there to push you down.
Ooh.
You
Yeah,
know,
that was an excellent analogy.
yeah, and you don't
Because
necessarily count on those things. So
and some are seen and unseen.
absolutely,
So the unseen ones are the ones that kind of
man,
kill
you
you.
step and the step is unsteady, and your foot falls through, and now you're
Mm-hmm.
stuck on that level.
Yeah.
And so the analogy as it applies to credit is this: we are there to help people to avoid some obstacles, because we've seen, after working with 15,000 people, believe me, I know probably most imaginable obstacles out there. And so we're able to help people avoid a lot of those obstacles. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
But also we're able to help people see with clarity what is that bottom step to top step process. And because people have different goals, your process is going to be different than somebody else's. The order in which you need to do things is going to be different than someone else. You know, if I have a person that's trying to conquer the real estate market, I'm telling them, don't go out and buy a car. That's going to mess you up. And they might think that that's the next step because, hey, I need a nice ride, da, da, da.
Right.
Well, no, that's going to mess up your debt to income ratio, and it's going to impact this. So if you go this way, this is going to delay your process by 2 years. Whatever the case may be, I'm understanding what your full picture is and what moves you should and should not be making along the course of building and developing your credit. So it's, to a good degree, Gavin, is also life coaching,
Yeah.
which I need to probably get certified in, because Lord knows I do plenty of that. But it's having somebody understand and have witnessed that process for so many people before you walked in my door,
Right.
that now I can help you understand what that process looks like and how all of that ties into everything that you're going to need to do with your credit to make it happen. And so at the end of the day, we're customizing an approach for you. And so don't tell me I do what everybody else do. Everybody else doesn't know how to customize based on your goal, wishes, dreams, where you are now, and what's going on with your credit, how to make all of those things come together to get to an end result.
Well, one of the things that I really want to help our listeners understand, especially if you're in Chicago, that you have a physical person, place, entity, company that you can confide in, you can talk to, you can share your ideas, and you're not going at it by yourself. Because Lisa mentioned in the conversation before about if you're a family member or somebody that in your immediate friends or family members don't have this understanding, then you're lacking the possibilities of even doing or even thinking about certain things in a certain manner, because you have nobody to actually bounce the idea off of. So I think it's the importance of having a company like CBI Solutions to go to speak specifically about your situation.
Yes. Yes.
And the specifics is when you leave out of there, you feel like you're not alone.
I think that's very important, Kavan. I mean, I work with clients all across the country, so I'm not limited by geography because credit is a national thing.
Good job.
However, you know, locally, I tell people you have the advantage of walking into an office where you see real people working and we have a team of folk that, you know, that manage different parts of the process to make sure that people and their files are getting constant attention, and that each different marker that we're trying to hit, each different time frame, that things need to be checked and things need to be done, that you're getting that attention. And a lot of times when people work on their own credit, again, you can represent yourself in court, you can do your own taxes, you can get it under the hood of your car, do your own oil changes, whatever floats your boat, okay? But when people do their own credit, one, they don't know how to work with all three bureaus. So I've had a person that said, at least I did all this work and didn't realize I need to do the same work with the other two bureaus, you know.
Which is, right.
You know, or they lose enthusiasm for it. They start out the process and they're disputing their stuff, and then they stop for months because life happens. And then they get around months later to following up in the process. Or they do all of that and realize they're still not there, and they don't know what they're missing because they don't understand about credit scoring and how that works. And that's a whole nother show, Gavin. But the bottom line is credit repair on average handles about 35% of the situation, because 35% of your credit score is whether you pay your bills on time or not. You have some late pays, things go wrong, that's impacting that 35%. But what about the other 65%? What else is generating that credit score? What other factors are there that I need to know about? And Lisa, how do I do it? Because when they come in to me, if they can't even get finance for a piece of gum, when they come in, how do they get to the point that now I'm able to get them approved for credit? How does that happen? What's that pathway? And I make sure literally every person that comes into my office gets approved for additional credit, so that they know they've hit another place that they weren't at before because they couldn't get approved.
Well, I failed to mention this, but I have been a client and continue to be a client with you.
Yes, you have.
And I've been with you guys for 12,
10,
13,
12
something like
years.
that.
Yeah, easily.
So I say all that to say that I felt like this conversation about credit, and more importantly, a podcast that actually continues to talk about the subject matter of credit, is very important, not only for business owners, entrepreneurs, but also for our kids, and the ability for them to have some kind of understanding about how things are going to be leading up to them becoming adults. How, in some cases, parents, that your kids live off of you for so long where your credit never gets good. I have so many clients that, me too. I got a phone that's so broke up because my daughter takes all of my upgrades because she loses. I love you, Chloe, but at the same time, let's face it, we are sometimes at the mercy of what our kids do in life. And it has an adverse effect on, most of the time, our financials. And when you don't have options meaning if you're just using cash to do everything, and you know that it's a lot of people out there, it's sometimes the old school way of thinking, but let's face it, it's always good to have more options to get certain things done than just one.
Absolutely.
So can you speak on any of that information?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we talked about offline, and I was telling you a story about a workshop I was doing at IDOT, Department of Transportation, right? And the gentleman, I'm telling you, everybody in there was entrepreneurs, but I feel that this gentleman literally came to this workshop just to point out to everybody that he didn't need credit. He did everything cash, and you don't need credit. And it's a little difficult when you kind of have a heckler in the room, right? But the basic way I handled that situation was to say to him that, hey, it's nothing wrong with wanting to be cash and carry. Nothing wrong with it. And he said, well, if I want a house, I'll just save up the cash. And, the truth be told, it's very hard for most of us in the market where a house costs $150 easy to say, I'm going to save up $150,000 before I get my house. And in the society, as in America, where credit is so integral in what we do, that's not really practical,
right.
But it's okay if that's your mentality. But what I challenged him is instead to think about credit as a tool. Isn't it nice to have the option to have both? So isn't it nice to have the option that if I don't want to wait until I save up $150,000 for a house, that I'm able to get financed for it? And even better, what's the harm in getting financed for something if you have the best credit scores and you can get it financed at the cheapest rate where you're not paying a whole lot more for everything? So credit needs to be a tool that you can use to invest in yourself. Sometimes waiting is not practical. I'll give you an example. Let's just say someone is a business owner and they need a piece of equipment that cost $50,000
to get a certain contract.
So you're going to miss out on the contract year after year because you have to wait to save $50,000. By that time, it's gone. Or what if it's a piece of technology that you need? By the time you save up the money for the technology's passed. We're in fast times, and so you need to have the ability to do the things that you need to do when you need to do them. And truth be told, most business owners, especially business owners, are in position that when you face the fact that 80% of businesses fail in the first 2 years, 80% fail in the first 2 years. If you're not in position to meet the need of that business, then guess what? You're going to be in that 80% failure ratio. So you have to position yourself to have the capital, because capital is probably the number one reason why they're going to fail. You have to position yourself to have the capital needed.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, because you're kind of being modest, and I know we've talked. Yeah, I know at least for a long time, but you have books in the library that's
Yes.
on the subject matter of credit. You and your husband have worked with over 15,000 clients. Why should somebody come to you guys as opposed to online or getting, I don't know, it's really just online and maybe a conversation that you can have on the phone with somebody. But what makes it different for a person to come to you and get a better idea of what their situation is than maybe calling somebody or going online?
Well, when you go into a credit repair place online, all they do is credit repair. So that's
Credit repair.
repair, not
Right.
building, rebuilding, development, next level stuff. None of that. Just going to repair. And that's an okay starting place. So I'm by no means discouraging doing something rather than doing nothing.
Right.
Okay. However, when you go to have a conversation with them, they're not analyzing your credit report. They're not telling you what else you need to be doing. They're not telling you how your credit situation applies to what you're trying to do. Like, okay, hey, am I good enough to get approved for that car now? Well, sir, that's not what we do. I can discuss with you if an item came off your credit report or not.
Right.
It doesn't give you any insight as to where you have to be to get certain things done and how you get there. And so, will it cost more coming to somebody like me? Of course. I'm customizing an approach for you to get you somewhere. And that's
laughing.
different.
I'm laughing because I was on both sides of those coins. I was the one who went online or went to get this quick fix kind of scenario,
Yeah.
or even I couldn't say quick fix. It was more of I need to do something.
I need to do something. Yes.
This is the only thing that has been kind of like flicking in my world to say, hey, this is an option to learn about credit, and it's not a lot.
Well,
out
but
here.
doing something is different from doing everything you need to do. See, that's two different things here. You know, going to an online service who's going to drip. Let me also tell you, just so you know, hint, hint, they're going to drip your dispute process because they're charging you monthly and they're going to want to make you feel like you're getting something monthly. So they're only going to attack a few of the things on your report. They're not attacking everything because they want you to continue to get something that says, hey, we got something off this month. Oh, we got something off next month.
Wow.
We got something off the month after that. That is not going to, 9 times out of 10, get you to somewhere in a certain time frame. It's not time conscious at all. It's not goal conscious at all. It's not comprehensive at all. It's only dealing with a small piece of the problem. And again, dealing with some piece is better than dealing with no piece.
Right.
But it's like doing a puzzle where I'm only giving you a third of the puzzle. You're not going to get a full picture if I'm only addressing 30% of the puzzle. So, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, when I attack something, we're attacking it from every different angle, every different thing you need to be doing. I'm doing this, you're taking care of this, we're doing this. By this point, we should get here. When we get here, we're going to do this. Then it's putting together a plan for you. And nobody looks at your stuff and cares about your goals enough to say, let me put all that together for you. That's where we're different.
Yeah, one of the things that I would do, and let it be known, I've sent hundreds of clients
Yes.
to Lisa throughout the years. And one of the things that I would always ask my client when I was speaking to them about their benefits on and off the job, it would be the question of, what is it that you want to do? simple question. Most financial planners and such, or even anybody that want to know what's going on with you, kind of take a litmus test by asking that question. What I always understood by asking that question was to find out sometimes what was the challenges they have had up until this point.
Boy.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
Also, I find out what is it that they really truly wanted to do but didn't do. And it really comes in a discovery kind of conversation. And discovery is, oh, so you work, how long you been working here at the federal, state, federal, postal, or whatever, as an employee? And they'll give me a question, statement like, oh, I thought I was only be here for 10 years. Now
Yes.
it's 17 years into it. I've married 3 kids, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm just getting data and all that good stuff. And it comes at a point where the conversation goes to, all right, so if those things didn't necessarily happen, what would you have done?
Mm.
And that's when and the reason why I have to pose it in that kind of mode to them is because I don't want them to be so stuck on what's going on really in reality in life. It is, what did you really want to do? Or what do you want to do now that you have some kind of frame of reference on how your life is going? And they will ultimately always say, well, I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to do X, Y, Z, or follow my dream or passion, what have you. Or they wanted to buy a piece of property. That's usually the number one thing that comes down is to buying a piece of property. And then, of course, I say, well, all right, well, how close are you to that? Or they'll tell me they want to have a 40-unit piece of property, but that the income ratio is not nearly next to that.
Yeah.
So what do you say to those who, for instance, think it's too late? That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Think that they're not able to even the psychological warfare that comes with not knowing if you can do something because life has kind of slapped you in the face or you not necessarily where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that play when, I know you got thousands of testimonies, because I do, as far as how people react when they get wins?
Well, I'm going to tell you this about credit. When you're taught or you finally are enlightened to the fact that credit is a tool to get somewhere else, to get something else that you can't have today, then you understand that it needs to be a regular part of your process. There is nothing that I do that I don't think about how it's impacting my credit, or if there's something else I need to be doing, or how I need to plan my next moves and what else I need to do with my credit to make those next moves happen.
Mm-hmm.
So credit's an everyday part of my life. The problem is that credit for most people is just when I'm being told no. And so it needs to be more proactive. And I think once you understand the relationship you're supposed to be having with credit, then your questions are different. Hey, Lisa, when is too young to start building credit for my son or my daughter? Because I want to make sure when they go away to college, they're not in my pockets because I already have credit established for them and, other things like that. I'm already thinking in a different way.
Right. Or how can I get their name out?
Right. How do I fix what I messed up? Because, what had happened was when I was in trouble, I had to use my daughter's social.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Things happen.
Hey,
We're not judging
I'm
here.
not judging.
Right.
But things happen. But once you understand the conversations you should be having with credit, and you understand now there's other ways to do things. No, I don't have to have all this money out of my pocket. I can help them build the credit. Yeah, I'm going to make sure they pay their bills. Yeah. But I don't have to have all this money out of my pocket ready for these things to happen. I can use credit as a way to supplement or to be more prepared for. Or, well, hey, I want to get into real estate at some point. I know I'm going to need credit scores of X. Let me start building that now. I know I'm not ready, but let me just start building towards that. And it brings me to an interesting point, Gavin, and I don't think I mentioned this before. People are so confused that credit equals debt. Credit does not equal debt. Credit
Please.
equals access and available money. If you've used every dime, it's not available. That's not credit. So when I say to people, you need more credit, they're instantly thinking, oh, I don't need no more debt. No, Lisa, I don't need that. If I gave you a $10,000 credit card tomorrow and you didn't charge anything on it, are you in debt? I didn't give you debt. I gave you credit. I gave you access.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't take the credit card out your wallet and, I can't smack you on the hand when you get to doing things you're not supposed to do. But wouldn't you rather have access? I don't care if you had to leave it at home and know it's sitting so that if something happens, you have access. Not that you came and you got in all this debt. See, we're just taught all the wrong things and we're going to do a whole show, Gavin, about myths because people have just been given so much misinformation about credit. So coming back to my point, it's just very simply, you need to use credit as a tool. And once you understand how to use that tool, it's much easier to conceptualize building a house if you have a hammer and wood and the tools you need than if you have no tools. If you have no tools, you can't conceptualize it. So the bottom line is once I give them the tool of credit, oh, wow, people eyes open and they conceptualize all types of things. And that's the answer, I think, to your question.
As you get the tools, CBI becomes the blueprint or the schematics
Yes.
or the script that you can actually look at and have a
Qualitative and
quantitative measurement on how to get from point A to point B.
Yes.
More importantly, the knowledge of the
application of the knowledge. So many times when I would talk to clients before they come to you, because I always want to prep them before they get to you, and the prepping piece is, okay, I don't want you to go and give this company your money and sit back and find out that things are working or things are not working, but you're not learning the process.
Yeah, you're not a participant. It doesn't work that way.
It kind of, I've set them up because they're representing me when they come to you, first of all.
And I'm representing you when they come. So.
Exactly. So the point being is that you want to, when you go and speak to anybody about your credit, you want to know that you're going there to learn for yourself. That's one thing. Second thing is that Lisa and Vince and Cbi Solution is your consultant to help you beyond what you learned first, or even to go back and say, you know what, I was thinking about doing this. I remember you telling me, here's my knowledge based on that. Is there anything differently that I should do? Is there anything that I can enhance this process? Is there anything that'll help the timetable? Is there anything that will be more concise where I know I will get this? So just the knowledge of having an entity like CBI and you guys to actually bounce ideas off of,
Absolutely.
to go at a certain situation, not by yourself, I think it's super priceless, especially in Chicago, because you can actually physically go and see them.
Well, the one thing is, you kind of tapped on something that, I often think about. At one point in time, I was doing a lot of celebrities. Okay. At one point in time, we became the it people for people of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I've done NBA players, NFL players, and actually Hollywood stars that are acting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mayors of cities, CEOs of companies. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to say that people that you would normally think don't need our services need our services. And it's because they need somebody who can intelligently, confidentially understand what they're doing, where they are, and what else they need to do, and give them the help that they need to get there. The other thing is that is probably, and the reason I don't do many of them anymore, the most difficult client to work with. Why? Because they feel like I pay you enough that you're supposed to do everything. I can't pay your bills on time for you. There's certain things I cannot do for you that you have to be a participant in the process. And a lot of times when people are kind of more on high and mighty mode,
Right.
This stuff's supposed to just miraculously happen by itself, I guess. And it's harder to get them because they're so busy. I understand that.
I get it.
It's hard to get them to be a participant in the process. the best person to work with is somebody that understands it's somewhere they want to get to, and we're going to work as a team to get there. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
We're going to work as a team to get there. And to your point, Gavin, it's nice to have good people on your team. It's so many of us, being an African-American woman, if you're not watching it, you're just listening. Being an African-American woman, I see so many of us lack resources we can tap into. And it's a pretty well-known fact that in the black community, money doesn't circulate around long enough, as in other communities. There's a lot of things that we need to do better. And with that being said, it's just simply that a lot of times we lack good connections.
Absolutely.
And great resources. And so when somebody comes to me and it's the same thing, because I send people to Gavin, when we send people to each other, we know that each other is mirroring the type of behavior that we exhibit. We care about our clients. We want to make sure that they're successful. We want to have a level of professionalism. And if I didn't have that, he wouldn't send people to me. If he didn't have that, I wouldn't send people to him. And so just those simple connections, reputable, professional connections that you can give someone is so important. And so when people tap into us, it's like a family. They know they can come to me year after year, years later. We're still there. At the 15,000 people, 14 years, we're still here. Helping people reach their goals, and they know they can come back and, Lisa, do you know anybody that does this? I'm looking for a good attorney. I'm looking for. We have so many resources of great people we work with, and we share them.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on this piece. I know we have so much information to talk to, and we're going to do different shows that's going to actually highlight those things.
Yes, we
But
will.
I wanted to make mention the concept of having professionals be on board with what you have going on, i.e., let's just say a real estate agent that deals with individuals who sometimes are not quite up to snuff on getting that house or being eligible to, make certain payments, and it's because their credit is not in certain shape.
Right.
How advantages that a loan officer or a realtor have to actually be able to tell their clients or share with them their clients an extra or additional step if they're not there, or if they want to get a bigger house with a bigger, amount that's connected to it, how to go about doing that. Why would it be so important to develop a relationship with somebody like yourself because of the business?
Because we were talking about how people do business with each
Right.
other, right? And
The fact that
if a real estate agent talks to a client and he or she is not ready and eligible to get a certain, and they have to just kind of like, okay, well, get your shit together. You know what I'm saying? Call me
Right.
or not, because I have to make this money today.
Right.
So what's the advantages of professionals having relationships with individuals like yourself so they could actually help their clients, A, if they're in a position to be helped, or B, they're not in a position to be helped, but here's an extra step that gets you in a position.
Right.
How does that help a person by building a professional relationship with you?
Well, interestingly enough, CBI started really for the purpose of supporting, yes, helping individuals make their dreams come true, but we never advertised when we first came out.
Mm-hmm.
We may have did a couple of, trade shows and, seminars and stuff to have a table just to let people know we were here. But truly our business boomed because of the fact that we were a support for the professionals in the industry. So rather than me going out doing all this advertising, to say, hey, I'm here to help with your credit, we went to professionals and said, we know you got people that need help with their credit. Not a mystery. You turn it down people every day that have goals, want to buy a house, hey, Mrs. Realtor, you can't run around showing houses to somebody that doesn't even qualify to buy one. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mr. Loan Officer, I'm sure you would like to be able to get those loans closed by making sure those people are at the credit scores that they need to be when you turn them down. Talk to us. Send your people to us. And what it does is, for a long time, when the economy was good, all these professionals wanted to be credit repair people. They did everything they could to be the credit repair person in the room so they could also, close the loan and, all of that, right? it is a tedious job trying to close your loans and be a credit repair professional. It's just not designed all to be done by one person, because you're already overwhelmed with all the paperwork and everything it takes. You're already overwhelmed with the time to show the houses. It's just too much.
And what about the latest and greatest changes that comes with credit and the different?
Well, how about the latest and greatest changes that comes with your own mortgage company with the
Yeah.
different criteria? You had to keep up with your own stuff, let alone trying to keep up with everything that's going on in credit. So
This is
long
true.
story short, you should not have to be the credit repair professional also. 2, you should not have to retain in your memory hundreds of people because you've talked to hundreds of people and they're not ready, and you can't mine that field. You send them to some place that says, hey, let me build your pipeline for you. Send me the people. I'll track it as your person. I'll make sure that they're in good shape. And when that person gets in good shape, guess what? I'll let you know that, hey, this person might be ready to do something. The credit's looking pretty good. Imagine to be able to just, every person you touch, send them into a pipeline, forget about them, and then come back and that person is back better than ever, ready to do that loan and in position.
And they're gonna come back to you because you were the author of them getting to that point in
Yes.
space. And people don't forget. Let's keep that
It's
real.
part of the family that, okay, I sent them to Lisa. Lisa got them together. She sent them back.
Yep.
Now they're good to go. And they're appreciating that you sent them someplace that was reputable, that did what they said they were going to do and helped them reach the goal. So, long story short, that's how we established the business. And next thing you know, we had all these loan officers and
Yeah.
professionals sending us people. And we had probably more clients that we can deal with. And then what happened is the word of mouth grew after that, because those people, whether or not their friends and family were, trying to do loans or whatever, it's like, look, go to this person, man. They can get your credit done. Because what invariably happens is that person is looking at them going, how did you get that house? Last time I talked to you, you couldn't bust a grape.
Right.
How did you just get that house? Girl, go see Lisa. Lisa took care of me, Man, that's a nice car, Girl, I know you paying the mint for that. No, girl, no, I got the 0 APR. People want to know how you did it. And so eventually the word of mouth kind of took over, and that's how we've grown to the extent of being at, over 15,000 people that we've helped at this point.
That's remarkable. First of all, just on the longevity, because I've made mention before about there were a lot of people who decided to become credit repair folks, but
Yeah.
they have not lasted, and it's unfortunate. But it is. It's because this is a subject matter that is forever changing, is forever evolving, and you want somebody, listeners, that is going to be really finding out and engrossing this more than you are, just your 1 or 2 times that you want to think about your credit when something happens. But can you talk to the listeners about this non-traditional approach? Meaning, I was thinking about, what about the lawyers that, here's the question.
Okay.
I'll pose it like this.
Okay.
What is the number 1, 2, 3 reasons why people should get their credit looked at, fixed, repaired, or even just entertained? I say that because sometimes people don't understand that when you get married, before you get married, you should actually have that conversation with your with your loved one.
You don't know
or your
what you're
significant other.
inheriting.
Right.
In terms of a credit mess, right?
Number 2, let's go to the other spectrum of that, is you getting a divorce. And
Yes.
now you was 1 and now you're 2. And sometimes you don't, since we're not necessarily looking at our credit all the time, it's something that the other spouse may have done unbeknownst to you. And now that y'all separated, you look at your credit and like, what is this? What's going on? So there are certain scenarios where if you are an attorney and you have clients, and it will be an added value to say, okay, well, here's an approach that after you start to go to divorce, to call this number Cbi Solutions, so you can, have a way of getting back whole again.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak to?
Oh gosh, Gavin, that's a whole
I know.
another show topic. Write that down. I'm trying to get to the heart of essentially what your question is.
It's a lot of changes in a person's life that
Yeah.
would enable you to use your credit if you have it, or if you don't have it, it can cripple you.
I'll say this. I think this is about the extent of what I can say about that. Life happens.
Good job.
And, you know, there's going to be so many different things that happen in your life that's going to impact your credit. I get people who've co-signed for a car for somebody and things didn't go well, and now they're left because they didn't realize that in co-signing it meant it was going to be reporting on their credit report every month also. You know, people who didn't realize that, you know, certain moves they may have messed up business credit, and now the business credit they have the right, if you go bad, to report it on your personal credit as well.
Wow.
If you're the guarantor. So many different situations,
Yeah.
man. We can talk about that all day long. All I would say is that it's important to know what's on your credit report, what's reporting, how it's impacting you, what else you need to do. And the bottom line is that landscape is fairly complicated, except for those who don't have any credit. And the only complication for those who don't have it is, well, if I don't have any, who's going to give me a chance? How do I even get started? So they just have a simple question. How do I get started? Everybody else is going, I have 15 accounts in my credit report. I don't know how this is impacting me. I don't know what this is doing. They don't teach us how to interpret all of those things going on, and how to know all those different things are weighing out. And what does that mean in terms of what moves I need to make based on this right here was on my report. So it's a complicated question, Gavin. We're going to have to do a whole other show on that.
Funny, as you was talking, I was speaking about a client I sent to you where this lady was about to, this is the last thing
Before we wrap up, right?
Yeah. Is a young lady, she was a lady who was retiring. And she came to me.
She'd like the title, a young lady, Gavin.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Right.
Young
Shout
lady.
out. I didn't want to mention her name.
Young
so
lady
that's
who's
why.
retiring,
The
right?
young lady who's retiring, right? Talked to her. She had some money saved up, had, you know, some nest eggs and stuff like that. But she kind of had an idea of what's going on credit. But I sent it to you, right? And I kind of got her, you know, ready to speak to you, and found out that she had like 35 open accounts. and I'm saying this because sometimes we think that we're in such good positions because we have credit, but the credit is not advantageous in the bigger
shooting
scheme
ourselves
of
in the
things.
foot, you know, a lot of times.
So it was just so funny to me because afterwards, and here's the thing. So after she came and talked to you, and then she called me back like 3 weeks later, and she was like, "Mr. Ware, I got it. And I'm
Well, got what?
what are you talking about?" What she got is that she understood that she was paying her bills. 'Cause
Right.
all her bills was paid, but when she took a look at it and understood that she wasn't using something or how to navigate it, it was like this big burden lifted off her. She started looking at her mail again. You know, so my point.
Was she just doing too much? Was she just
she
doing
was-
way
she was
too
do-
much?
She was doing too much, but here's the thing is that she was quote unquote still maintaining.
Right.
But because this lifestyle change of her saying, okay, man, I'm about to retire. I need to get some things in order. Here's what I got. And then I brought her to you, and she get these epiphanies. But then after it's all said and done, the testimony of her saying, Kavan, I got it. I feel so much better. And like I said, the whole thing of
And I think
opening
I
her
remember who
mail.
you're talking about. But, you know, I think the kudos to her for realizing she needed to do something different.
Absolutely.
So
That's
being
what
in
I'm getting at.
advance of retirement and saying, okay, I'm not going to be able to spend the same way. How do I better position myself for, you know, this next phase of my life? And realizing that, you know, when you retired and you know, fixed income, you need to do everything cheaper.
Absolutely.
You know, so if you think that you need credit less just because you're retiring, wrong. You know, you want to even elevate that process of getting your scores up so that you can, whether that be refinance a vehicle or refinance your house, just do everything cheaper.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, the lifestyle that I live, I can have the same cars and as somebody who makes a whole lot more money than me, and they would assume that I make as much money as them. Because guess what? I've had the Bentleys and the Benzes and, you know, all that kind of stuff too. But the thing is, I'm not paying what you paying for.
Right.
See,
That interest rate is a
that's
little
the
different.
secret, you know.
Right.
I have, it's funny, if I said that, that would be revealing too much of who it is. But it's a very wealthy person that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we both had S550s. I worked on his credit, so I knew what he was paying for his S550. I wasn't even paying barely half
Wow.
of what he was paying for the same vehicle. So, yeah, it made me look good. It looked like I was obviously making pretty good money too,
Right.
you know, because I could afford one.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm not paying what you paying for it, you know, so I can afford the same lifestyle, but I'm affording it, you know, much better, in a much better way, because I understand and have a mastery of credit.
Yep.
And
The
that's
application
what you
of
need to do, is
knowledge
the application of
is
it.
the power. Not just having knowledge, just the application.
Application of it makes
doing
such
it.
a big difference. So I already know the next question because we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is going to be,
Okay.
how do people engage us, right,
Absolutely.
in the process, and you know, kind of what the next step is.
That's
So I'm helping Gavin help me wrap up. Okay.
Mhm.
The bottom line is this: in our company, we have a process called a credit assessment. The credit assessment allows you to soft engage with us. Everybody's not ready for this full-blown process, to be honest, because like I said, we're consultants, so our goal is to try to help you get somewhere. Some people don't know really where they want to go. They just know that they need to improve, and that's okay too. So the credit assessment is a way to engage us. It's $75 to do an assessment, but we pull your credit, we go through, we discuss everything with you in terms of what's on your credit report, you know, what things are impacting you, what your next 3 moves need to be to improve, to start to hit another level, and what things you should be focused on, and to give you insight if you have a goal, dream, aspiration of how close or far your credit is to accomplishing that goal. Now, with that being said, you can engage us and we can do that process. But the good thing is that after we give you all that great information, if that's enough for you to go, you know, start moving forward to do the things you want to do, then great. You just got a lot of great information. You got expert opinion about, you know, what some of your next steps should be. If you decide to go with any of our services, doing that assessment allows me or anyone from my team to be able to say, well, now that we've looked at all that, we know how long this journey is going to be for you. We can give you a price for what our services are going to be, and then we can help you understand what that process looks like and give you a map, a literal roadmap for this is what needs to happen with my credit for me to get to where I'm trying to go. And the good thing is you don't lose the $75. That's how $75 is credited to the cost of your services. So it's an easy way to engage us and at least do something. And Gavin, I can't tell you how many people that just do a credit assessment are so happy that they did that, and honestly come back to me years later. At least I did everything you told me to do. Man, this took off, and you know, now I could do this and that. But now I want to come to you and work with you because now I'm trying to get to this place.
Right.
So it may not be something that they execute at that time, but by them doing the things that I told them that they need to focus on, they have a roadmap, man. And, you know, it's just, if you've traveled without a roadmap, then you should know it's much easier getting somewhere with the roadmap.
Exactly.
You know? So.
Exactly. So how can they contact you? The website and maybe the phone number?
Sure. And I'm sure you're going to have it on the banner as
Yep.
well. But our telephone number is 312-376-4580. That's 312-376-4580. And so you can call us and let us know you want the credit assessment. And I do believe on the automated menu we give you an option that says if you're calling for the first time to press a certain number, so that way, you know, we could talk to somebody pretty immediately or leave a message so that they can get you signed up for the assessment. The other thing is that we have a website, webuildyourcredit.com, and you can submit your information there. Not all of your personal information, but just enough information for us to know to contact you to do that credit assessment. So this is a site where you can go and request that credit assessment. So again, it's webuildyourcredit.com.
Right. So
Right.
this is a subject matter that we know we just touched upon today. It was more of an introduction of the concept, and of course, Lisa and CBI Solutions. But this is a conversation that needs to be had, and needs to be had in different formats, because there are so many different array of ways to address credit, and it's different scenarios and people and
Yes.
professions and levels that need special attention. So we are going to have certain podcasts that speak specifically about certain things, so that way you can get more information about a certain subject matter that's more pertinent to you.
Can we ask people to submit ideas? as
Please,
well?
please,
You know, if they have things that they would like to hear us talking about, there's just so many different topics concerning credit. Is a much more complicated topic than we ever give it credit for.
Yeah, we didn't even speak about the business credit
No.
part too.
Right.
So these are
And
things.
credit scoring and
Yeah.
so many other dynamics.
Yeah.
So.
I want to thank you, Lisa,
Thank
yet
you,
again,
Gavin.
for coming to share your knowledge, to understand that this is a subject matter that there's not a lot of entities that's involved in it. And I'm so glad that you and Vince withstood the test of time, and of course, helping all those folks and continue to help people. So is there anything that you want to leave for the listeners, or once again, I just
want to say thank you for realizing this is a topic worthy of further discussion and delving into, because again, a lot of people don't know how complex this subject is. You know, it just blows people's mind a lot of times when I tell them that they don't even know the credit scores they're looking at are probably not real. But we'll save that one for next time, a little tantalizing tidbit. But it's just so many different pieces. And I appreciate that you understand those nuances in all the years that we've worked together. You understand the importance of people using this as a tool.
Yeah.
So bottom line, it's a tool to build to another level. And if you want to hit another level, you need to get on this.
Yeah, and which
each tool, you still have to give it some maintenance and give it some
Absolutely.
energy and some time. And more importantly, my last thing is that please, listeners, understand and learn it so we can teach our children, so we can have them go at it in life, not starting over or have to go at it certain things by themselves, or even them having to come back and make the mothers and fathers not the author of their life. We want people to be independent. We want our kids to be independent. We don't want to deal with our parents for everything.
Well, and imagine if we had a better start. Imagine if, you know, my parents certainly taught me pay your bills on time. That was like at the
Yep.
basics. So great. That's a great starting place. But imagine if we can give our kids a lot more than that to have them get the right start that they need in life. So, yeah, it's a very important topic.
So thank you, Lisa, once again. And we are going to let them know when the next time we're going to be here on talking about this subject matter, and perhaps more specific the next time.
Yeah, we'll delve into some details.
Yep. So
Okay. Thank you.
here from Fresh Aire Network Studios, we appreciate your time. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook page. And thank you once again for listening. Have a good day. All right.